Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, and good afternoon, members of the committee. Thank you for the invitation to appear today. My name is Alana Baker, and I'm the Senior Director of Government Relations for the Automotive Industries Association of Canada, also known as AIA Canada. By way of background, our members are mostly small and medium-sized businesses in every riding that employ more than 200,000 Ontarians. As an essential service, we provide quality parts and products as well as vehicle service and repairs to the 9.4 million vehicles on Ontario's roads. Our members include Canadian Tire, Napa Auto Parts, CarStar, Mr. Transmission, and Fix Auto, to name just a few. Whether you've been in a collision or require maintenance, our members help vehicles last longer, pollute less, and keep drivers safer by offering Canadians any product or service a vehicle may need after it rolls off the dealership's lot. AIA Canada is focused on preparing our workforce to meet the challenges of not only tomorrow, but those we are facing today. And I'm here to seek your support as we adapt to a rapidly evolving automotive sector. First, to support job training and job creation, we encourage the government to provide more programs for the automotive aftermarket to upskill and increase our employees' ability to service electric and connected vehicles. It is not as simple as hammering out a bumper anymore. Our industry is facing a shortage of automotive tradespeople and a skill shortage among our workforce, which is equally consequential to a labor shortage. A worker that lacks the skills needed to complete service work is just as significant as not having a worker to fill a position. Simply put, technology is changing the type of work that automotive tradespeople do and the skills that they need. Servicing modern vehicles involve working with digital tools, updating vehicle software, and calibrating and aligning sensors. Skills training currently offered is not flexible and responsive enough to keep pace with emerging technology. When compared to other red seal trades, automotive service technicians face the largest amount of change in their workplace. For example, to service EVs, automotive service technicians need new skills related to high voltage systems and battery removal. We want to commend the government for the steps they have already taken to promote the skilled trades and upskilling. The Skills Development Fund, or SDF, is helping address some of these challenges. For example, SDF is supporting an upskilling program provided by AIA Canada and St. Lawrence College to develop the skills needed to service EVs. The program is open to incumbent workers as well as apprentices looking to bridge the gap between what current curriculums offer and what the workplace demands. Following a successful launch, AIA Canada is looking to expand this training program across the province. But there is still more to do. To address the industry's skills shortage, upskilling and new skills training systems must be strengthened to meet the needs of employers. We are asking the government to ensure that more funding is made available to employers to access third-party training for their workers. For instance, provide funding or offer wage rebates to companies who proactively deliver upskilling and training for their employees. Continued investments into the skilled trades are critical, and AIA Canada is committed to working with all parties to ensure that training programs are in place for the vehicles of the future. The second issue that I'm here to speak with you about is the right to repair and ownership of one's data. Modern vehicles are increasingly becoming like cell phones and computers, connected wirelessly to the internet at all times. Unlike their predecessors, servicing and repairing these vehicles requires access to diagnostic data. Today, these connected vehicles transmit this data directly to automakers, which drives business away from independent shops and the suppliers that serve the aftermarket. The aftermarket needs secured and equal access to wireless vehicle data in order to ensure a level playing field for small business and fairness for consumers. AIA Canada has been part of the voluntary Canadian Automotive Service Information Standard Agreement, or CASIS for short. The agreement's overall objective is to maintain an open, fair, and competitive automotive industry by ensuring that the aftermarket has access to automakers' repair information, diagnostic tools and training, as well as information on the vehicle's emissions. While the CASIS agreement has been a useful tool over the past decade, it is not well suited to the challenges consumers and independent auto care shops face today with connected vehicles. Let me give you an example that showcases the issue at hand. A consumer needed the brakes on their vehicle replaced. The shop that this person typically visited purchased brake pads to fix the vehicle, but was unable to access the repair information from the manufacturer Volvo to complete the repair. The repair shop gave the customer the brake pads they had purchased and had the car towed to the Volvo dealership to complete the repair. Upon arrival, the dealership told the customer that they would not repair the car with those brake pads and forced the customer to pay more money for Volvo's parts. This is but just one example of thousands, and the problem is getting worse. Not only does this give authorized dealerships an unfair advantage over independent auto care shops, but the real loss is felt by consumers who are faced with less choice, higher costs, and who risk losing access to essential vehicle service and repairs. One only has to ask themselves, what does this mean for the single parent who can't get his or her car fixed, who's on a budget, trying to figure out how to keep this car going for school, for work, for groceries, and everything in between? Furthermore, emergency service vehicles like ambulances touch every local community and rely on our local garages to keep them in working order. We need to have access to make sure we can keep these essential vehicles on the road. Research demonstrates that right to repair is widely supported by consumers. Recent polling by Abacus Data found that 83% of Canadians agree that auto manufacturers should be required by law to share data with independent repairers or mechanics so they can fix their car. Having the flexibility to repair your goods or have them maintained by third-party providers is critical in a price-conscious market, as it allows Canadians to shop around for competitive pricing, something of particular importance as we continue to face high levels of inflation. We are calling on the provincial government to work with the federal government to enshrine owners' access to their data. Not only is this about allowing fair competition, but also the preservation of consumer choice to ensure that consumers can continue to have access to reliable, essential, and affordable vehicle service and repair. Again, thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Where do you see the federal government versus the provincial government, the different role that they have in helping to advance right to repair?
Sure, thank you for the question. We do see it as we want to see some leadership from the federal government. This is a national issue. I mean, as you mentioned and pointed out, it's not just unique to the automotive sector. It hits a wide variety of other sectors. But what we are looking for from the provincial government, we would like to see support and encouragement and again leadership to work together with the federal government to put in place right to repair legislation that affects the entire country. What we don't want to see is a patchwork across the country from province to province that varies. We do need to see some leadership at the national level to ensure that it's hitting every province.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have to say, I just experienced this myself. I took it to an independent. They did a diagnostic only to tell me $250 later, you need to take it to the dealership. It doesn't seem, fair for consumers, right? So that's at the bottom, at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
what we want.
And we hear about it too many times to count.
All the time, yeah. And how quickly do you think something, again, if the change is made around the legislation, how quickly do you think this could actually have a benefit to the economy in terms of, saving people, saving consumers real dollars?
Oh, I think the benefit can be very quick. I mean, first of all, again, it's allowing consumers choice, especially in this day and age. Like we said, when we are facing high costs of living, it puts more money back into consumers' pockets, which they can then, use for other parts of the economy as well. So everybody benefits. It's about fairness and choice at the end of the day. And when you think about it, I think traditionally you would call a wide variety of repairers, shop around for a few quotes and then pick the one that works the best for you. And unfortunately, we're not able to do that.
Now we see a shift into electrical vehicles. We know that we're going to be a leader in EVs. Maybe it is time to take a pause and start thinking about it, how we can regenerate and recover and bring back some of the manufacturing business. Something in previous regime, we lost about 300,000 of those manufacturing jobs. Many reasons were there, but not about talking about the past, but talking about the future. Is there any suggestion from you to us as a government?
Well, thank you for the question. I mean, what I can say is we're talking about, like you said, vehicles of the future, but we are already seeing these vehicles on the road today. And the technological revolution is moving at a very, very quick pace. What I can say is when it comes to the transition to electric vehicles, the aftermarket cannot be an afterthought. And there's a wide ecosystem. When I spoke to the labor needs, our technicians need to have the skills and be prepared to repair these vehicles when they come into their shops. And that problem is only going to grow. So we need to address that now. On the other side, I would say that adoption of EVs, not just in Ontario, but of course across the entire country, is contingent on supporting an ecosystem where these vehicles can be readily repaired and serviced. This also includes making sure that we have the data that I spoke to earlier on the right to repair. over 25,000 independent repair shops across the country compared to about 4,500 dealerships. So we hold the greatest market share. So we need to be able to, again, in rural areas, if our shops have to close their doors, what are folks going to do? So having access to the data is critical, and ensuring that our technicians have the skills that they need is also critical to ensuring a successful deployment of EVs.
We have two wonderful peers from the finance who need to hear the importance of skill development fund, who needs to hear the importance of investing into labor training and skill development. So what is your advice to these two wonderful people? We did invested 90 million recently in the SDF3. Should we continue? How much we should continue? How big is the impact?
Absolutely. I think we should definitely continue. I would say I think, as I mentioned earlier, we have also put forward an application for SDF Round 3 to expand the project that we have now. It has been hugely successful. We have the program is wrapping up in March, but surpassing our targets. And I think that the desire is there. We've seen participants from this program who have now since gone on to secure new jobs. And it's hugely, hugely important. I mean, again, it's all about the technology. It's an exciting time to work in the sector, but they need to have the skills in order to do so. So we are absolutely supportive. It's certainly a help for our sector, and we want to continue to see it grow.
I just want to talk about, you briefly touched about your federal right to repair legislation when you guys went and spoke to Bill C-244 and presented it. And I do hear it, what you're looking from us. Although it is a federal legislation, you're looking from support from us. And but is there anything other than just writing a support letter or just talking about it? Is there anything else we can do? Just let us know that as well.
Sure, absolutely. I mean, Bill C-244 is certainly part of the puzzle. It's not the entire solution. So what we do need to see is, just the support to enact standalone legislation that is going to address the issue at hand. So C-244 is one part, but it's not going to be the end.
You talked a bit about Bill C-244 and how that's a piece of the puzzle. Again, just kind of help educate us a little bit more on what would be required at the provincial level. Like, for example, could a member of the government put forward a private member's bill to advance this? Like, how much regulation or legislation would be required to advance the right to repair here in Ontario?
Sure. Thank you for the question. Absolutely. I think the question is more. The answer is more about having the proper mechanics for the legislation in place. And what I mean by that is, 244, like I said, is part of the equation because it addresses some issues on the copyright side, but there's also the Competition Act that needs to be amended as well. But more importantly, I talked about this voluntary agreement, and what's missing is proper enforcement, and also the advancements that we're seeing in technology for vehicles. We have telematic systems, for example, now in vehicles. So the current voluntary agreement doesn't even address these computer systems that are collecting and processing all of this data. So having legislation in place that includes an enforcement mechanism, that includes addressing the telematics piece, ensuring that all players are at the table is going to be important. Putting forward a private member's bill would certainly help. A study would certainly help. Encouragement to the government to take a lead role and have a proper piece of legislation in place would go a very long way.
And have you got any indications yet, from the government on their interest in that? Like, is it something that we can hope to see?
Momentum is certainly growing. It is, I think what they're looking at right now is 244 as the avenue to collect feedback on the right to repair in general. It's not specific, however, to the automotive industry or any industry for that matter. So it does not go far enough. They are certainly listening, and we're seeing momentum growing, and not just in Canada, but in other jurisdictions around the world. And we do hope to see, once that goes through that phase and continues to go through the process, we are hopeful that we will continue to see momentum rise for standalone legislation.
The aftermarket is very important to the automotive industry. but we have a shortage of mechanics as well. And being the #1 jurisdiction in the world that we will be building EVs here, how can we, as a government, what can we do to attract more people in the automotive industry?
Well, I think it starts, someone mentioned, high school, but I actually think it starts even before that. And it also starts with the parents. Like there's a certain stigma, I believe, that's associated with the automotive sector, and we, industry, together with government support, I think, can do a better job at promoting the skilled trades as an exciting career. There's a beautiful career trajectory within the sector, but we need to do a better job at promoting that, talking about the lifelong benefits and the skills that are attainable. So it starts at that very, very early stage to encourage students to pursue a career in the skilled trades. I think it starts there.